A Washington Post article came out about a month ago called Men Are Lost by Christine Emba. And I just came across on YouTube a CNN segment with Michael Smerconish, and he had Christine Emba, the author, on, and he had Professor Scott Galloway on. Yeah, this guy. It's about a 10-minute segment, and about 6 minutes and 50 seconds into the segment, Scott Galloway says the following: sex and companionship are huge motivators and guardrails for young men. Then he goes on to say, most households prosper when there are risk-aggressive, rambunctious, more prone to action attributes of masculinity in concert with more thoughtful and more loving femininity. So society functions better, households, meaning society at large, functions better, families are more stable, says he, when you have feminine energy, when you have women tempering the behaviors of men, when you have women soothing, encouraging, doing emotional labor and unpaid physical labor for these men. And while this guy will go on to say, this doesn't mean that I'm asking women to do anything, or this doesn't mean that, in every segment he says, it doesn't mean that like women's issues aren't important, that black people still aren't discriminated against, but this is really important, this is really important. Y'all, they're still asking us to do the labor. They're still asking women to fix it. And I've asked on TikTok several times, how is it our responsibility to fix this problem? And the reason why we are in this predicament is because we artificially created a system after the war that gave a bunch of men access to women that they otherwise would not have had. We gave them free college, we gave them good jobs, we gave them low interest mortgages, this great consumer economy, all this stuff, because we hoarded the resources and kept them away from women. So women had to go through a man to get resources. And because we were the only economy booming at the time in the post-war period, we had zero competition. So there were plenty of jobs, plenty of stuff, land was cheap, everything. But it was an artificial system. And a bunch of men had access to women that they otherwise would not have had access to were it not for policy, for government intervention, very specific economic policies that allowed them to have access to these women. These are women these men were never meant to have. And now men are sad because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to go to work anymore because there's no point if I can't get a woman. What's the point of having a job? What's the point of going to college? What's the point of leaving the house? I can just sit in my apartment, sleep in and watch porn. Because it was an artificial system that was set up for you to win. That middle-class post-war life that you were promised, that was not a life you were supposed to have. It was manufactured. It was artificial. And you don't know how to compete in the world without that system. When they opened up the playing field and gave women more access to resources, we were able to make the most of those resources. Even though we were paid less than you, we were given less opportunities than you were, we were able to build careers, build community, and do all these things, not really with the intention of landing one of you. Like, a lot of us still had, a romantic relationship as something that we, wanted to do in life. But it was more about fulfillment, intellectual development, community participation, and all those things. It wasn't about, I have to get this job so I can land a guy. My dudes, you have to fix this. You have to completely reform, redefine what being a man in this culture means. We can't do it for you even if we wanted to. But like I said earlier, it ain't our job to do that. It's your job. And when you have these men with PhDs on TV peddling this nonsense, it's thinly veiled expectations of even more emotional labor from women that we've already told you we're fucking tired of doing. It ain't gonna happen, Scott. Hate to break it to you. Women are done exhausting ourselves to prop up men who can't emotionally regulate and navigate the world on their own. We're not going to do it anymore. Yes, men are lost, but it's up to them to find themselves.